Welcome back. To this lesson, we're going to have a look at some of our selection tools and make some selections. Now, just a recap. You can see up here in the tabs all the images I have open. I've got a background there we're going to be using in this exercise. We could use the road, I suppose. But basically, we're ready to go. You can see here that this image has already been selected out from its background. So there's Ginger. The way I can tell it's ready to go is because in the background there is the grey and white squares, which means transparency. So I could copy and paste Ginger straight onto any background I like in seconds. So I'll demonstrate that in a moment. Now, some of the tools we're going to be using today are these tools here. Now they range from the marquee tools. There's, if I right click on the marquee tools, it gives me the rectangular and the elliptical marquee tool. Just below them are the lasso tools. There's the freehand lasso, the polygonal lasso and the magnetic lasso tool. And then beneath those are a suite of tools, including the brand new object selection tool, which is new in Photoshop 2020, a quick selection tool, and the magic wand tool. Good selections don't just happen. They take a little bit of work, they take a little bit of thinking through, and they usually take more than one tool. It depends on what you're selecting, but often good selections require more than one tool. Now Ginger's been selected quite well, so I'll just go back to that demonstration now with Ginger. I selected Ginger out of a very busy background by using options in the select and mask button up here in the selection tools options bar. Now see, I've got a selection tool selected. I've got the magic wand tool. So it's got all the magic wand options plus that select and mask button. And the select and mask button gives us access to a tool that can pick hairy subjects out of backgrounds. And it's done it very well. So I'll demonstrate that now. So Ginger's ready to go. How do I get this image onto that image where I want to place her? Now, in a tab system like this, we have to use, it's easier if we use keyboard shortcuts. Now, I've told you these many times, but we'll just go through them one more time. So, first of all, I have to select all of that layer. So if you look over on the right-hand side, you'll see that this file only has one layer with Ginger on it and the transparency behind it. So all I have to do is go Control A. Now that's select all, and you can see all of the marching ants going around the whole edge of the picture there. So that's been selected now. Now I need to copy that. So Control C to copy it. Choose the image I want to place her on. So we'll place her here. And to paste her, I go Control V. Now she's a bit big for that picture, but you can see it's a pretty good selection. The hair's been selected quite well. Not perfect, but we can see all the hairs on the edge against that very dark background there. She is a bit big, so I use a fourth option, which is Control T, which stands for transform. And that brings up the handles. Now in the latest version of Photoshop, you don't have to hold down Shift while you do that. You just grab a corner and you drag, hold down the left click and drag down and get Ginger the right size. We'll put Ginger down the front in this picture, and so she'd be a bit smaller, maybe about that big. And once I'm happy with where she is and how big she is, I can just go Enter, and that gets rid of the handles and it confirms the size, the new size for Ginger. If you have a look over here on the right, you'll see that she's now on her own layer above the background. If I turn off the background, you can see there's Ginger floating away on her own layer just above. Okay, so how do we prepare this car so that I can paste it onto the background? We're going to use a range of selection tools. Now I thought it'd be best if I right click on the option I've got open there now. It brings up the 3 options, and one of them is the object selection tool. This is the brand new tool for Photoshop 2020. Not bad. If you have a look up here at all the options for that tool, yours might have rectangle selected. Now it doesn't really matter, but I like the lasso mode for doing this. It works so well that all you have to do is draw a line around using this tool. See, nowhere near the edge. It's all smart technology, smarter than me. And you can see that it's done a reasonable job. There's a few mistakes. You can see there's no good. In areas where the white background and the white car line up, it's actually chosen inside here, or missed this part inside here. And it hasn't done a very good job on the shadows underneath the car, near the wheel arches. So we need to sort of repair that selection. It's a good start, but we're going to have to make it better. Now what we do is we're going to have to choose a different tool. And I think that the best cleaning up tool is the polygonal lasso tool. So I right click on the lasso tools and choose the polygonal. Now, it's actually selected all this inside the car, but it's missed some of these. Now, if I wanted to include that part that it's missed in the selection, I'd be adding that to the selection. So up here in the tool options for the polygonal lasso tool are these little symbols here. Now the first one is a new selection. Now I don't want to click on that because that will get rid of this selection. I want to add or manipulate this selection. So I need to, there's the add to a selection. That's the one I need. You've also got the option of subtracting, which we're going to use in a moment. But I've got add to a selection chosen there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start on the same line that it should have stopped at. And I'm going to put that back in. I'm just going to go along there where it should have gone itself. And I'm going to continue up here to get the number plate. So I'm just going along that curve of the line. And then I just have to meet up with where I started. Back here. And when I get close to meeting up, you see how a little 0 appears. See that? That means I can left click with confidence, and that's sealed that up. There's a little bit of missed content here, if you like. I can just go around. Now the polygonal lasso tool, if you've never used it before, I'll just demonstrate up here on this part. You just click. Every time you left click, it makes an anchor point. So then you can change direction if you need to up here. Every time you need to change direction, just left click around the corner, down here. And as long as you meet up with the tool, in here. Now, pardon my doggies. Now I just have to include that part in it down here as well. So I'm just going up here and across, and that's included that section in. What about this part here underneath the wheel arches? I'm going to have to subtract that from the selection. I don't want that part of the selection. So I come up here to my tools and choose subtract from the selection. And again, I go where it should have gone. along the tyre there and back around. It has to line up with itself, so I've repaired that bit. And I come and do this bit. This little bit over here. And this bit. Okay, that's not too bad. Now the only thing left is these two little bits of white background that it has included. Now the way I get rid of that is I'm going to change tools, quickest and easiest. I'm going to go back to the Magic Wand tool. So I go back to that symbol, right click and choose the Magic Wand tool. And I want to subtract this from the selection. I don't want that white background included in the selection. So I have to come over here and I just click in that little bit of white and that little bit of white. I've just seen that part there. So I just go back to the polygonal lasso tool and add to a selection and just repair that little part. Good selections take time, guys. Okay, so that's pretty good. Now the last thing I need to do is use our select and mask option up here. So I'll really quickly deal with that. I'll click on that. It gives us some of the view options, view modes for this. Now some are better for some jobs than others. The black and white just gives you the impression that if I didn't change the selection at all, it would look like it's been cut out with a blade or a pair of scissors. And that's not a very natural look. You can see that if you look at that edge. So over here, I can add a bit of feather. Now I only add 1.5 pixels, I think will look good. Now already just doing that, you can see that that edge has softened just slightly from what it was. And I might even smooth the edge a bit, maybe 5 for smoothing. And that's it. If I just go OK, there's my selection. Now, I want to be able to come back and use this car in the future. So I want to select it and make sure it's on its own layer so I don't have to go through all this process again at a future date. And how do I get it onto its own layer? Well, all I do is copy and paste. So I don't go Control A. If I went Control A, it would select everything and I'd lose my selection. So I just go Control C and Control V. And you can see over here in the layer palette that there's an extra layer now and it just contains the car. And the way I can tell that is by turning off the eye of the background layer. So all I can see is the content of that layer 1 now, and all that's on that layer is the car and transparency. So that's perfect. Now, how do I get it onto my background? You all remember, so you'll all be busy doing that now. Control A, Control C, Control V, and it's very big, but it's a good selection. It looks really good. Control T, and minimize it down. And you might think that it'd be funnier if it was bigger. Now, once I've adjusted it and got it the right size, I have to press Enter. Now you can see over here in the layer palette for this file that we have the car on the top layer, layer 2, Ginger on layer